planning for 2022, getting ready for whatever holidays you're celebrating and bringing in the new year. And we want to get you thinking about what that will mean for you and your job seekers in 2022. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be going through one of the main publications that shares their big ideas for 2022, LinkedIn, and what those really mean for you. This year they laid out 29 big ideas. Let's size that down to the ones that really matter for you and your clients. And I'd love to hear if you have been looking at this or if you've seen this, what stood out to you. So feel free to share that in the chat, say hello, and then share that in the chat if you've got some of these that you've been looking at. What do you like? What makes sense to you? What do you think is going to make an impact for you and your clients? So here are the 20 big ideas for 2022 from LinkedIn. 29 big ideas. 20 would have been plenty, right? I don't know. 29 big ideas. That's just a lot. So you can grab this, you can look at it. If you just search big ideas when you're in the LinkedIn search bar, it'll come up pretty quickly and you can look over this yourself. This is also included for our newsletter today. And if you're interested in that, let us know. If you aren't getting it to your email, let us know, and you can always go to our website and find it there as well. So this goes through some of the ideas of what's coming up. It's interesting. I saw an article recently about, why don't we like the Great Resignation? It's so negative, but everybody's trying to make up their own word. And Beverly Harvey from our community had shared that article with me, and so I kind of giggled when I saw that LinkedIn was calling it a reshuffle now, the Great Reshuffle. People are moving, right? We know that. Um, and then we'll go through some of these other ideas. Our clients are trying to figure out how they're going to deal with the vaccination and find places where they can work that they're comfortable for whichever reason they're making those decisions. I do think that those conversations will continue into 2022. But there's some other things really impacting leaders and job seekers right now. So we're going to keep on scrolling. We're going to talk about a few of these big things. So the metaverse. The metaverse, right? What's going on with the metaverse? This article breaks that down. If you haven't been keeping up with what Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, have up their sleeve, you can read a little bit here of how the metaverse kind of came about, what is going on with it, and a little bit of what people think it will do in 2022. So that's one of the pieces that I'd pull out of here. Definitely still talking about the metaverse next year and seeing some virtual interviews. People are talking about doing more virtual reality interviews, which of course is all connected here in the metaverse conversation. We've been talking about mental health. That's important. And this. So frontline employees will enjoy new clout. I think employees in general are flaunting their clout right now. I would encourage everyone to not take that too far. It always goes badly when we take it to the extreme. So yes, you've got more space to negotiate salary. Yes, there are some things going on with workers' rights that are great. And if whenever, anybody pushes things too far, then it causes that equal and opposite reaction. If we're moving in this direction in a healthy, thoughtful, conversational way, it will likely be more productive than if we go to that extreme and we try to do things that don't make any sense. Even though it is a workers' market, you still need to know why you're negotiating salary. You still need to have done your research, still need to have those talking points of this is why I deserve that amount of raise or salary if you're negotiating with a new job. It's not going to work to demand these things simply because there's this movement going on right now. We still need to have productive, collaborative conversations, even though these movements are happening. For individuals, it will hurt your career if you are riding this wave and thinking that you're going to get whatever you want just because this wave is going on. We still need to have the relationship with our employer, future employer, and have that conversation in a productive way. I don't know that anybody's not, but I feel like some of these articles are encouraging people that you can get whatever you want because it's an employee's market, and that's just never the reality. We don't know what's going on with that individual company that we're talking to. Maybe they do, maybe they don't have that belief system. Maybe they do, maybe they don't have that money. And if we push too hard, we may lose out on something that we were really interested in and that was going to pay enough, even though it may not have been the high dollar that some of these articles are talking about. The crypto conversation, that's we'll have to keep our eye on that. I don't know what where that falls into the career discussions yet, but that's here in this article. Love to hear if any of you have clients that are starting to get into crypto, work in the crypto industry, and hear what you've got going on there. So feel free to say hello, where you're joining from, and if any of these trends stand out to you. 4-day work week. A lot of conversations around that recently. Love to hear if your clients are actually seeing that be a reality. With a school that I grew up in, went to a 4-day school week for a while, way back in the day, and it didn't stick. So when I read some of these things, it feels like a recycle of an old conversation. And will it actually stick? Consumers have demands that are more than 4 days a week. So how that would all come together will be an interesting conversation. Ones that really impact our career. We already talked about salary, up with that other point. Sorry, let me find my other point here that I wanted to find. Diverse hiring. So this is a great conversation that I'm hearing more and more about, and the diversification of diversity. So we're looking at the multiple places that people come from. Then maybe they have a disability, maybe they're neurodiverse on top of being from another country or having an international background or being from a different race. And I love that this conversation has got more diverse. Also was listening to a conversation from some of the big hiring companies and hiring authorities, and still seeing that competition between we need to hire and we need diverse people, and we may not be able to get diverse people because we just need to hire. That's a little frustrating because, again, diversity would probably aid in their need to hire and not detract from it, which was what I was hearing in that conversation. So hopefully this conversation will continue to evolve and be more inclusive in all of the ways that we can be inclusive, as it moves away from talking about it in just like a single plane of diversity. When we open up that conversation wider, to me, it makes it easier to have that conversation, and it makes it more fruitful and more inclusive for everyone to join into the conversation. Therefore, hopefully having a bigger impact on those who are most adversely affected by these conversations, typically those with disabilities, those from minority races, etc. So we see some of these conversations going on and I enjoy them. What I love about this article too is that it gives you some people to follow in these arenas and different places to read if you're interested in joining any of these conversations on these 29 big ideas. Hello. Clients are pushing back more on job offers. The pushback revolves around time off, remote work, and stock, not necessarily pay. That's interesting to hear for sure. All right. So let me find my big ideas here and we will scroll down. We've talked about work from home until our faces are blue. I don't know that that's really a big idea, even though it's in here. We are hearing more about entrepreneurship. And in fact, our board members have been kind of gathering the ideas for the next year and what types of content will we talk about next year. And we're definitely talking about how can we equip you as coaches with more tools to help people launch into entrepreneurship or launch their side hustle. So if you are interested in that topic, let me know. And if you know speakers that would be great on that topic of helping people get into entrepreneurship and the coaching skills and some coaching programs that would help us do that, drop that in the chat. We'd love to see what we can do to help people move into that entrepreneurship space. And of course, for our coaches to be able to feel comfortable helping people move into that space. Definitely a big topic for the coming year. In terms of jobs, It'll be interesting to see what happens with schools. I don't know that I agree with this, maybe because I'm a working parent, but homeschooling my kids while trying to run my business is not on my agenda. And a lot of women that I know, I feel like maybe I'm this because most working women do not feel like they want this. Some women have stayed home with their kids and are homeschooling and maybe on this vein. Um, but there's a big group of women that are still struggling figuring out how to deal with the uncertainty of school and having a job or running their business. And so there's maybe more of that. I don't know. Be interesting to see when that one goes. Love to hear your thoughts on where you think public education will go in the US and beyond. All right. Some other stuff in here about sustainability, which we often don't bring into the careers conversation, but of course, very important for all of us in longevity of the earth in the sustainable and dealing with climate issues in the world. Some interesting things about topics in here. Hustle culture will come back with a vengeance. So this is interesting because there has been, I love this, influencers denounce the hustle, promising that life is no longer all about work. They are working harder than ever. And I have felt like this for a long time, that all of this stuff talking about, you know, don't have a hustle was kind of incongruent with what was going on in the entrepreneurship and side hustle world. Like, you can't have a job and a side hustle and not be hustling. You can't really be building a business and not have a hustle. Most of the time when I hear people talking about not hustling, it's because they've already hired a 100-person team and so they don't need to hustle anymore. We can all maybe want to get there, but some of us like having our independent business. So there is a flow that needs to happen. It can't be constant hustle, then we burn out. I don't know, maybe that's a bad term, but you gotta hustle, and then you have some flow or some downtime, and that ebb and flow to me is what we're looking for. The idea of balance means that we've always all got it all figured out, and that's just a lot of pressure. I don't like work-life balance. I like work-life integration, or the idea of the hustle and flow, where at times we're pushing and at times we rest. And that seems more in line with what I've seen from entrepreneurs and what seems realistic than feeling like we've always got this balance. Because when you do that, that means that you're likely turning down opportunities that you're missing out on because you don't want to ever have any hustle. And then you may not ever get a flow because you've always got to keep that going to meet your goals. And I guess it's just maybe how you want to operate it, but that baseline, that like flatline business, I don't see very many small business people doing that. It is more that kind of hustle and flow. You've got to pick what works for you, but I wouldn't feel pressured by any means to find this kind of elusive balance. And I like the hustle and flow. It works for me. So this conversation was interesting. Colleges, same thing with education. Will it shift? Love to hear from you all in universities, what you're seeing. I know that things are shifting, but will they actually go away? I don't know. Be interesting to see. Flexibility and location and scheduling, yes, we're seeing that being the demand, not necessarily salary. But again, we've got to be careful with those demands because what's realistic for that job? We know from the World Economic Forum data that in the US, only about 50% of jobs can realistically be done from home. And maybe we'll figure out how to get that number a little higher, but there are going to be people that still go to an office, and there are people that still want to go to an office. So we've got to make that match between what the employer needs and what's realistic and what we're looking for, and find those places where those two things connect. Some interesting ideas about innovation here and international news that you can skim through. The housing conversation, also very interesting, not necessarily related to careers, mortgage market, some of those things, and how we purchase things, etc. This is an interesting one if you're working with leaders, the organizations and cynicism. Organizational cynicism, employees sense that their workplace culture is competitive, individualistic, and greedy. right? How can we want to work for a place ever, any place, if that's how we see companies as the villains? And there's been a push towards vilifying companies for a while. So this is an interesting idea of how that might shift in the psychology around that. So if you've got your own big ideas, please share them. And of course, we'll be sharing our big ideas on January 11th at this same time, but you will have to RSVP through LinkedIn. We're not going to do it live on all of our channels because it's a time for us to share our trends, and we want to see who's interested in those. So you will have to RSVP through LinkedIn, the event on LinkedIn, to join those. And we'd love to see you there if you're interested in joining us for that event. Let me grab the link and I'll put it back in here, and you can join us on January 11th for our trends conversation. We are also having our program for personal branding starting on that day, on January 11th. And that program is just becoming more and more important as we talk about how do people navigate this workplace. They have to know who they are. They have to be able to ask about a culture and compare it to their own values. Well, do they know who they are? Do they know their values? Do they know how they want to show up as an employee, as a leader? And if not, that's what personal branding is all about. People make it about marketing and communications. It's really not. It's more about that foundation. And that's what our class is starting January 11th. How do you help people really understand who they are, what they stand for, and therefore what they want, and how they can communicate it in an authentic, comfortable way consistently so that they can get to where they want to go. And Susan Critton teaches that class. She's amazing. And it's always a life-changing class for the people that take it, because you get the opportunity to really consider your brand, your target audience, in addition to getting the tools that you need to help a client with those conversations. So if you're interested in learning about that more, let me know, and be happy to share with you more about that program. Again, that starts on January 11th. Here's the very messy link to join us for the event on LinkedIn. If you're interested and you want me to send you that link directly, just let me know. Send me a message on whatever platform. Happy to respond to you and send you this link where you RSVP for the January 11th trends conversation, where we'll be revealing our key trends for 2022 based on the feedback we got from a lot of you in our Career Jam event in November. So we look forward to seeing you there. And we also look forward to seeing you for that personal branding program if you're interested in joining us for that. And I'll drop the link in here for that too, because I've got that pulled up. So when we come back from the new year, we'll have a new event consistent for these Tuesdays. We're going to keep the same Tuesday time next year, but we are moving technologies. So when we move to our new system, we will have the new event for you to RSVP if you want to get reminders of these Tuesday trend talks. I'm still deciding. I'll send you a message if you're paying attention and you care. I'm still deciding if I'm going to go live next week. Next Tuesday is my birthday. It's a big birthday with a 0 at the end, and I haven't decided yet. I don't know where we'll be, but I'll send out a message and you can join me live if you want to on my birthday. Otherwise, we'll be back here on January 4th, I believe. So thank you all for participating and joining in and commenting. Thank you, Elisa. It's yes, each year it comes around each year, whether we want it to or not, doesn't it? But I appreciate that. Thank you. And I appreciate all of your participation and the suggestions that you all make and the comments that you share with each other during these lives. It's really helped feel like we are community, even though we couldn't get together in person this year. And I'm really looking forward to being able to get together with you all in person in April, those of you who can join us in Philadelphia. So thank you so much. And thank you, Norma. Thank you, Cheryl. And I will see you all in the new year. And thank you. Have a great, happy new year, everyone.